You know, I'm not even sure where to start with this. There's so much. Back when the movie Idiocracy came out, I wish I had paid closer attention. Because back then when it came out, it was, okay, it's a funny movie, you know, it's the future, everybody's an idiot, Blondo, ha ha ha, right? Little did I realize that Idiocracy wasn't a comedy. It was a documentary. Not only that, but it was the blueprint for what the rest of the 21st century was going to look like. Because here we are, we're living Idiocracy. And I've seen some examples of this that I'm trying not to be that guy, right? But when I see something, I gotta say something, right? Try not to be that guy. It's always negative, always down on something. And I try to be fair to the whole EV thing. But you know, you can only be fair when things make sense. You can only be fair when it's, you know, there's a balance. There's no balance here. There's insanity here. There's crazy stuff going on with these cars. Now, my recommended feed, my YouTube recommended feed, is loaded with EV stuff. And it's almost always EV carnage. There's tons of EV carnage. Because I've done videos on EV fires and stuff like that in the past. And so I guess YouTube says, well, this guy wants to see, you know, EV fires. So he keeps sending me EV disaster things. And every day, my recommended feed is loaded with scooters bursting into flames, motorcycles bursting into flames, cars bursting into flames, buses burst. Would you see when these buses go up? Jeez. Like there's no, you are not getting out of that thing. You ain't getting out of that thing, okay? EV explosions up the wazoo all the time. What are you gonna do? I did the videos on this. I talked about EV fires. I'm not gonna keep harping on it, right? But the EV idiocy, it doesn't end just at fires. So I was going to make a video a couple of weeks ago. You had that thing with the Secretary of Energy. They were going to make this road trip with EVs to show how you can go cross country with these things. And they were just, oh, this is great. You could charge them anywhere. And you could just, so they put this caravan together and they head off cross country. But what they do is they send a pack of gasoline powered cars out ahead of them to scout for charging locations and make sure that it's clear so that when they get there, they can pull up and they can charge. So the scouts find a location and they block everything off so regular people can't get in there and charge their cars. So one of the regular people calls the cops on them, right? It's the government. It's the government, okay? I expect nothing less from the government. Okay, so I let that go. It was like too easy. It was like shooting fish in a barrel, right? No. So yesterday, though, I see a couple of, you know, you watch one video, it leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, and I saw a couple of them that I gotta comment on this because this is insane. This is insanity. I want to know how this stuff is legal. Self-driving. So one of the big features, not just on EVs, but it's a big feature on EVs, is this whole self-driving thing. Now, this is something I never really paid much attention to, okay? Because, like, okay, you want a car that's going to come when you call it, okay, fine, I don't care, right? You want a car that's going to park itself, parallel park itself, and I don't care, knock yourself out, that's great. And I'm not holding the people, I'm not holding the people who design these things, the engineers, in any sort of real contempt. They're trying to do something. They're trying to create a new technology. And that's fine. That's fine. But there are problems, not only with the technology, but with the people who use it. So as far as problems with the technology goes, I see a couple of videos. Two of these were Teslas. They were both in China. Both of them ran away at full speed. There was a white one where the video shows this guy, he's pulling up into his parking space. You know, he's going slow, and he's pulling up into the parking space like he's going to park this thing. And all of a sudden, the thing starts accelerating. So he turns away from the parking space and goes back out into the road. And then this thing just takes off like a rocket. I mean, it's just full beans. Everything it's got. God only knows what this guy was going through trying to get this thing stopped. Because, you know, he wasn't just sitting there saying, 120, 130, 140. No, you know, it wasn't that. This guy was doing everything he could to stop this thing. I'm sure he was standing on the brakes. I'm sure he was trying to pull up on the gas pedal. I'm sure he was trying to shut it off. But no, this thing was just off like a rocket. It ends up killing a couple of people along the way and crashes, and it kills him. Then I see a blue Tesla with the same basic situation, okay? Guy's just driving along and then wham, right? Takes off like a shot. And again, it's like in a city, ended up crashing into something, people die, right? It's just, the self-driving feature took off and went full tilt, full boogie. And there was no way for these people to shut it off. Now, to back that up, you say, well, okay, well, maybe those isolated incidents, right? Maybe it's just that Tesla. Maybe it only happens in China. Maybe it only happens to, you know. So now there's a guy in England, okay? So he has a relatively new EV. I think it was about 6 months old, and it wasn't a Tesla. I don't remember the make. It was a British built. And he's driving along. He's driving home. It's like the middle of the night, and he's driving home. And he's going like 30 miles an hour down the road. And he goes to slow down for like a stop sign or a stoplight or whatever it is. He steps on the brake, nothing happens. He's got no brake. Car doesn't respond. And it also, the gas is held at like 30 miles an hour. So it's like locked, it's going to go 30 miles an hour no matter what. So he's standing on the brake, he's trying to work the gas pedal to come up. Nothing helps. This thing is going to go 30 miles an hour. He tries to shut it off. It won't shut off. The whole electronic system on this car is locked, and it's going to continue down the road at 30 miles an hour. How long did this go on for? This went on long enough. This guy had to drive this car in this state long enough that he was able to pick up his cell phone, call the police. The police sent a caravan of cars to escort him while they try to figure out how to get this thing to stop. And then after so many miles go by, they says, well, you know, they put a police van in front of the car and had him crash into the back of the police van and then use the police van to slow it down and get it to stop. Do you really want self-driving cars? Do you really want this happening all over the world? Like, okay, so what's the percentage of self-driving cars out there right now, right? What, 3%, 4% on the road? You want to live in a world where there's like 75, 80% of the cars are self-driving and this is a regular thing happening all over the place? All right, so it's not just the technology. It's not just the technology that there's a problem with. There's the people you have a problem with too. Because here's the thing, okay? The manufacturers, the people who are designing these systems, I imagine they're assuming that everybody who buys a car and orders this feature is as intelligent as they are, is at least as intelligent as they are. And that they're going to have some common sense. And that they're going to say, well, yeah, it's on self-driving. Let's just treat it like it's on cruise control. So I'm going to pay attention to the road. I'm going to pay attention to the wheel. I'm going to pay attention to what's going on. But I'll just relax and let the car do the driving. No. That's what they're assuming people are going to do. But in reality, the average IQ is 100. All right? 100. The average IQ is 100. Which and engineers are going to be towards the higher end of that spectrum. They're going to be the 120s, 130s, okay? The average IQ is 100, which means that for every one person out there you got that's like a 140, okay, you've got a 60. And there's no difference in their ability to go buy a car and set the controls for self-driving. So I'm watching this other video, and this is taken on the interstate, and interstate speeds, okay, from one car looking into the other car in the next lane. So the car in the next lane is a Tesla, okay, and the person driving it is sound asleep. They're totally crashed out. The car's zipping along down the interstate, whatever speed they were going, it's zipping along down the interstate, and the person at the controls or in the driver's seat of the self-driving car is out like a light. How are they allowing this into the world? How are they? There's another video that follows that up. This one shows a guy, this time there's a guy, and he's got his self-driving feature on, and again, it's on like the interstate, and he's kicked back, and he's got his cell phone in his hand, and he's like playing video games or testing or doing something. But like it's like he's lounged out like he's in his house, right, in front of the TV, right? No, he's sitting in a car at highway speed, unable to quickly interrupt the self-driving feature should an emergency arise that the self-driving feature misses. This should not be allowed. I'm not being a Luddite here. I'm not being anti-technology. I'm saying that the average person with an IQ of 100, the average person may be able to handle this. But the less intelligent among us should not be allowed access to this technology. It's dangerous. All right, but that's not even why I'm making this video. That's not even why I'm making this video. I'm making this video because of something else I saw, and something that I was unaware of. And I'll almost guarantee that you're unaware of it too. And I'll almost guarantee that 90% of the people who drive EVs aren't aware of either. So I see a video come up, a recommendation, and the channel is called McMaster. And he had just posted this video. And on the thumbnail, he's like, trapped in my electric car. Trapped in his EV. Oh, jeez. Okay. I saw the thumbnail and I remembered back another video of a Tesla that had crashed and caught on fire. And somebody ran over to the car. So this is like right after it crashed and had just caught fire. And somebody ran over to the car and was trying to get the door open, was trying to get the driver's side door open, but it wouldn't react. And the people inside, you know, what can you do, right? What can you do? You know, hindsight, maybe he could have broken a window. But, you know, in the moment, at the time, with this thing in flames now, he only had so much time, I guess. The point is, the car crashed, the electronics were disabled, he couldn't open a door because the door opens electronically. The door opens with a solenoid, a switch in the door handle, and a solenoid in the door jamb to unlatch the door. Okay, that's bad, right? That's bad that you can't get inside of an electric car if there's a power failure. But nobody ever told me, and I never realized, that you can't get out of an electric car via the door handle if the power is interrupted. So what happened was, this guy, McMaster, I'll give you the short version. You can go watch his video and see the whole thing. The short version is, he has to go on a business trip for a few days. He leaves the car at his ex-wife's house. He comes back from the trip. He goes to get into his car. This is a Porsche. So it's a late model Porsche EV, 2022, 2023, whatever it is. He goes to get in the car. He goes to open the door, right? Nothing. No response. Can't get into the door. All right, so he knows the door's open electronically. So he goes into the house, and there's a master key, right? That with a hidden lock. So he uses this mechanical key under the hidden, into the hidden lock under the door handle, and he gets into the car. All right, fine so far. Now he tries to start it. He tries to get it to activate, and there's nothing. Nobody home. In the meantime, he closes the door. So now he's sitting in this car with the door closed. And I guess it's like maybe early afternoon. The sun is coming up. It's getting hot now, right? And it's getting hot in the car. And he goes to get out of the car. He goes to open the door, and the door won't open. The latch won't open. He's pulling on a latch, but it won't open. Yeah, not only can't you get into the car from the outside if the electronics are interrupted, but you can't get out of the car because the inner door handle is attached to a switch, and this switch activates a solenoid to unlatch the door. So now that's a door latch rod. That's a door handle rod. Okay, so when you pull on, and this is so universal. This is so universal. You go back to cars from the 1930s, they had this. You find new cars today, they have this. It's like this exact thing. Okay, so it's a simple piece of linkage that goes from the door handle to the latch. You pull on a door handle, it pulls on this, it unlatches the door, and you open the door. But not on this freaking Porsche. No, on this Porsche, there's no linkage rod on there. There's no mechanical connection. If there's no battery, if the battery goes dead, you can't open or even if there's an electrical problem, let's say the computer takes a dump or whatever, okay? You can't open the door. You can't open the door. You can't tell me they were trying to save weight for this. You can't tell me that they were trying to save money for this. Comparatively now, how much does this cost as opposed to, they still have to have a handle, they still have to have a latch, right? So those are two parts they have to have. This is being replaced by a switch and a solenoid, and instead of being a direct connection between the handle and the latch, it has to go all the way through the car's computer system. For what purpose? What are you trying to accomplish? What is the goal of eliminating this simple rod to get out of the car? How many people that drive EVs don't realize that you may not be able to open that door if there's an electrical failure? If you have an accident, anything goes wrong, you can't just open the door and get out. The computer has to let you out. Now, I know that on Teslas, because I looked into this a little bit, on Teslas they have there's an override button or switch or whatever it is, someplace on the door handle or on the inside of the door that you can push it and you can open the door that way. That's fine, that's good, but why even have that? Why can't you just put this simple thing? Why can't you just put this simple thing between the latch and the handle? Why does it have to be a hidden button that somebody in a moment of panic, okay, so you've had an accident and this thing is now on fire. Pretend it's not even the EV that caught fire. You hit a car and a gas car and the gas tank ruptures and the car is burned, right? Okay, so it's not even your own freaking EV's fault that you're on fire, but you're on fire. And nevertheless, your battery juice has been interrupted and you can't get out of your freaking car because you don't have this simple 1/3 of a penny's worth of pot metal item to get out of your car. How is this legal? How is this legal? It's insanity. And if I know. With a lot of these things, I'm like, well, you know what? Let Mr. Darwin, take care of this, right? It's not my problem, right? Not my circus, not my monkeys. You bought the ticket, you take the ride, right? I know. I'm like that with a lot of that stuff. A lot of this stuff is like that. But no, these are cars that are being used. People are putting families in these cars. Could you imagine a situation where you have an accident? There's a fire. You've got your kids in the car. You can't get out of the car. Nobody can open the door latches to get out of the car. The guy in the video, McMaster, is like, well, I came real close to break a new window. And you can see in the video, he's starting to panic, right? He's starting to freak out, which I think I would start to freak out too. And he's like, I was getting close to breaking a new window with a car. With what? What were you going to break the window of the car with? You're carrying a water bottle. You got your cell phone. What are you going to use to break this window of the car? You're going to punch your way through it? I can't punch my way through it. I doubt you're going to punch your way through it either. How are you going to get out of this car? All right, so we're capable men. We'll figure some way to break that window. But your mother, your wife, your daughter, whoever, they don't have that kind of muscle. They don't have that kind of thought, oh, let's just smash this freaking window. They're trapped. And they're probably going to cook in there. If they don't cook because it was an accident with a fire, heat stroke. This guy was starting to freak out because the sun was coming up, the temperature was going up inside of the car, there's absolutely zero ventilation. He's being cooked inside the car, right? How is this stuff even allowed? How is this stuff even allowed? Like I said, I'm like, well, it's a dumb feature. Again, see, you bought the ticket, you take the ride. No. It's not like that with this. And even if you don't have one of these cars, you're not putting your family in one. You don't know any families that are in one. How about you're the first on the scene of an accident? Okay? You're the first on the scene of an accident, like with that Tesla, right? And this thing is starting to catch fire. And there's a family inside the friggin' car. This thing is starting to catch fire. And you're trying to get your way into the car. You're trying to open a door. They're trying to open the door. Right? What are you going to do? Right? How are you going to feel when the heat gets to the point that you got to back away and watch these poor frickin' people cook in there? Right? So, somebody's got to say something about this stuff, right? Somebody's got to say something. You should say something. The reason this technology, this type of stuff is able to gain the foothold that it has is because it's really going unopposed by a collective unified voice, right? People like us, we're just relatively keeping our mouths shut. We talk to each other as like these freaking idiots, right? We talk to each other like that, but we're not talking to them. You know, it's our responsibility. If you're mechanically minded, if you're aware of these things, you need to make people aware. If you know somebody who's got an electric car, or who's considering buying an electric car, you need to make them aware of the fact that they may, if the battery goes dead in that car, they're not going to be able to get out through any conventional means. Spread some awareness, right? Maybe it's time we all started collectively opening our mouths and saying something here. Let's make people aware of these dangers. And it's not in the name of getting people to stop buying EVs. I keep saying it over and over again. I don't have anything against the idea of using electricity to power a vehicle. It's fine. It's just another way of motivating a conveyance down the road. I'm fine with that. It's the stuff, it's the forced adaptation of this stuff. And I'm going to do a video on that too, right? I'm going to do give me a few days. I'm going to do a video on that too. It's the forced adaptation of this stuff and the ignorance and the arrogance that goes with it. That's where I have a problem. And this is ignorance and arrogance that is currently, right now, getting people killed and maimed all over the world. You see something, say something. Open your mouth. You see somebody with one of these cars, or you know somebody with one of these cars, make them aware, you know, that they may not be able to get out. If it's somebody who has a Tesla, make sure they know that there's and not just a Tesla, I'm sure there are other makes that have other ways of doing this, but they're hidden for some ridiculous freaking reason. So make sure that they're aware of the alternate ways to get out of their car should there be an accident or something. It's almost too much to comprehend that this stuff is actually really happening in the real world here in 2023, right?